Oh, well, hello there. How's everybody doing? JB Wins, Hogan SS. We have returned for another edition of Conscious Approach on YouTube. Thank you to everybody who has been checking out our videos, subscribing to the channel, leaving those comments, giving us those feedbacks, hitting the like button. We greatly appreciate your digital currency because we do understand the meaning and the value behind it. Of course, to start things off, a couple of housekeeping duties. Check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Conapproach, CONAPPROACH. You can also download the podcast version of the show from Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. So if you're on either of those three destinations when it comes to downloading audio podcasts, we are there as well. Just search up Conscious Approach, normal spelling, and that is where we will be. Other than that, thanks to everybody for being here, of course. And if you're not on the live stream checking us out, thank you to everyone who is watching our videos. We most certainly appreciate it. Got several interesting topics to talk about on the show today. Can't wait to get into these. A couple of hot button issues. First thing that we are going to get into is a friend of the channel, undeniably, Mr. David Chappelle. As far as I am concerned, a legend in the comedy game, going back to his stand-ups in the 90s, and then, of course, most notably for this sketch show that he walked away from, Chappelle's show, that was far ahead of his time. If you take a look at what's trying to be done today and what can and cannot be said and whatnot. But Dave Chappelle did an interview with NPR, an interesting interview that's making the rounds. And one of the things that they talked about during his interview on NPR was his decision to perform in Saudi Arabia. Now, you and I discussed this on the channel as well, back when it was initially happening, because his comment that he made during his set went completely viral, where he was like, it's easier to talk freely over here in Saudi Arabia than it is to talk freely over in America. And that comment caught wildfire and had a lot of people talking. We, of course, broached it here on the channel. For anybody who's interested, go ahead and check that out in the video content library. It was an interesting conversation, but here Chappelle is addressing post hoc his decision to perform in Saudi Arabia and why he doesn't feel too badly about it, and how there is some hypocrisy inherent in the criticism directed towards him and others who do business with Saudi Arabia, in light of some of the other ways that we interact with certain things that eventually lead to money that's not so clean or not so benevolent or not so angelic. So here is Dave Chappelle talking about why he doesn't feel badly about performing in Saudi Arabia and giving his thoughts about the backlash and this notion of hypocrisy when it comes to how we perceive situations like this.
I didn't feel wrong being up there.
Yeah, I know we were talking about the Comedy Festival 2025. You did get a lot of fall. You did get a lot of, I don't know what your pushback or criticism for going among other people. Yeah. Okay. The intelligence, U.S. intelligence did make it clear that they believe that the Saudis killed Jamal Khashoggi and the embassy in Turkey. And you knew that when you went, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now, I should tell you.
You had no qualms?
I won't say that. They asked me to go years before that. And I said no for that very reason. Since that time, the United States government does business with the Saudis. Netflix does business with the Saudis. Everyone, the Saudis finance tons of movies. All these, I know, I see them financing boxing matches and all these things. And none of these things were an issue until I went there. And why is that? As soon as a black man can make money off the plantation, they try to tell you that the money is dirty. Well, okay, I'll go home and spend the money with actual slave owners on it. Where is this clean money you're talking
But you about? Said you hesitated for years to go, the years you didn't go. So what made the difference for you?
Time and circumstance, time and the wheels of commerce kept turning. If you want to be that pure about money, then stop driving your car, stop eating, don't use your cell phone. Everything is tethered to something that's just terrible. And I can make a million excuses or reasons to deprive that crowd of that show. But man, when I was standing in front of them, I feel like I did the right thing. Our governments are going to ruin everything for us. We'll never get to know each other if we just do everything that they want to do. or function on the terms that they want us to function. And we don't even really know what's going on.
All right, so I wanted to go ahead and I'm getting much better with these World Star videos. World Star is an ass of a website. Like they immediately run ads as soon as the video ends. Like World Star is the worst, but this one worked out for the best. So there you go. There's Chappelle giving his thoughts about performing in Saudi Arabia. Doesn't really have any regrets, and everybody's doing business with the Saudis. Why is there an issue all of a sudden when I go over there? So what did you think about his comments?
Fair, makes sense. I don't understand why people personally, care. But his take on the fact that, when you trace everything back, everything's dirty anyway. So if you want to be holier than thou when it comes to this over here or that over there, then you would also have to be holier than thou when it comes to whatever it is you consume or have. So him saying that having a car, or using a cell phone, using a TV, all of these things are, like you said, tethered to something that's not clean. And yeah, man, you're not going to have the device in your hand unless there was slave labor going on somewhere. You're not going to have the nice clothes that you're wearing unless there's slave labor going on. So if you're upset that Dave Chappelle made money, okay, he made money from, people that are, comedy washing, what do they call it? Boy, they said they were doing something. They were doing something washing, with these entertainers or something. I guess, but at the same time, there's all kinds of laundering and finaglery going on domestically. So personally, if he was getting a check out of it, and he didn't go up there and say anything, as far as I'm concerned, outrageous. It was all in line with his standard comedy stuff. I don't see why anybody would have, anything to say about it, other than this is just a celebrity doing a gig to get a check. This is standard stuff. Now, fair enough. The things that are going on over there might be deemed as, humanitarian crisis in some respects. But on the flip side of that, the United States itself could also be accused of getting itself in some messy situations abroad. And, people don't say anything when you're wearing an American flag and being patriotic. So all in all, I think this is just typical celebrity stuff in the sense that, hey man, this guy's going to get a check out of it. He did his standard type of comedy stuff. He didn't go over there and start acting a fool and performing a minstrel show. He did what he normally does. So I could see if he compromised himself in any type of way and compromised his integrity just so he could get that check, did some type of porty potty situation. But he didn't do that, man. He was on stage doing what he does in any other country. So I don't have a problem with it personally, man. But what are your thoughts on Sir Dave Chappelle clapping back at detractors, saying that, hey, man, it was just time and circumstances why he did it. Don't judge him for it. What are your thoughts, bro?
I agree with him. And, I respect people who are principled. I do. I've said that many times on this channel. But I do think that a principled person should be consistent in their principalities. I do believe that. And where I think Chappelle makes a profound and correct point is there is a lack of consistency across the board when it comes to when we want to institute our various principalities. The NBA went through this. I remember years ago when people were calling into question why the NBA is working with China because there were these issues humanitarian over in China. And so there were certain athletes getting called out, LeBron in particular. People were like, hey, LeBron, you speak out about all of these other issues. Why don't you speak out about this? There's crazy stuff going on over there in China. Why don't you speak out against this? What's the deal? And LeBron was basically mum when it comes to China because the NBA is in bed with China and there are extenuating circumstances. But when it comes to other issues, people don't necessarily hold LeBron's feet to the fire to speak out on that stuff. So it's like, what made China so different? Same thing with golf. When all of the golfers, not all, but when a lot of golfers started leaving the PGA Tour to perform with Live Golf, which is a league that is financed with Saudi money, people are all up in arms like, hey, golfers, how dare you go and perform with Live Golf? Don't you know what they have going on over there? What's the deal? And the response to a lot of that was, well, through the usage of all of these other things that you do on a regular basis, you are inadvertently, perhaps unknowingly, certainly unwittingly, supporting a lot of other worldly atrocities. So we have to keep the same energy if that's the case. And I'm inclined to agree with that. I am. I mean, I would imagine that a fair amount of people who had something to say about Dave Chappelle performing in Saudi Arabia wear Air Jordan tennis shoes. Air Jordan tennis shoes are made abroad, primarily utilizing slave labor, which, unless you think differently about the aspect of slave labor, is an atrocity. So we should stop wearing Jordans. You, someone who complains about Chappelle performing in Saudi Arabia, should stop wearing Jordans. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't complain to Dave Chappelle about performing in Saudi Arabia. I'm just saying keep the energy throughout. If you're going to complain about Dave Chappelle performing in Saudi Arabia, you should also not wear Jordans. You should also not use an iPhone. You should also not drive a car that isn't manufactured exclusively on American soil in an American factory from beginning to end. Don't drive any more Mercedes. Don't drive any more Audis. Don't drive Japanese cars. You like Lexus. Don't drive any of these vehicles. Don't put your money behind any of these various faculties, because by doing so, you are inadvertently not being consistent with your various principalities, demonstrated through your criticism towards people like Chappelle or people who are live golfers or anybody else. And people do tend to pick and choose how they feel about this stuff. As a sports fan, I know a lot of people who are into boxing who are going to pay for every single pay-per-view fight that takes place during Riyadh season this year. Riyadh season is this huge sporting opus that takes place for an extended period of time in Saudi Arabia, where these big fights are going on. And, WWE Royal Rumble was a part of Riyadh season last year. It may have been a part of it this year. I got to fact check myself on that. So my whole issue is, if you're going to complain about a comedian performing in Saudi Arabia, I sincerely hope that if you are a wrestling fan, you also didn't purchase Royal Rumble, because that's a part of Riyadh season, which is also Saudi. So people tend to pick and choose when it comes to a lot of this stuff. So I think he's 100% correct about that. And that's not me saying don't care about your money being clean, but if you want to care about your money being clean, then you also have to pay attention to and be consistent with the money that you spend being clean throughout. And of course, that's damn near an impossibility, because to his point, it doesn't matter what you're doing. The money is tethered to something terrible somewhere. So it is what it is. I think he made a valid point. And unless people are going to stand on business consistently throughout all of their various principles, just accept the reality for what this is, because you can't do anything about it.
Well said, man. But it's convenient. It's easy to, I guess, point at an individual instead of an entire corporation like WWE, for instance, or the golfers or boxing, like the boxing like enterprise, not the individual boxers, because I think there's like some type of an association that people make with corporations and stuff like, oh, well, of course they do that. And the players or the people involved with those corporations, they can't help it. But an individual, they should have some moral high ground or moral integrity, especially from somebody coming like from Chappelle, for instance, that he's not a moral high ground guy, but he is a conscious person.
Yeah.
And so his content is generally centered around, social dynamics. And so social dynamics tied to humanitarian crisis. How can a guy that, you know what I'm saying, that's an easy one-to-one match for some people to get on and then harp on. But again, ignoring the elephant in the room, if we're talking about, money being clean, that's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
That's literally, like you said, damn near impossible. It's damn near impossible. So we live in a financial matrix that is predicated on people being at the bottom of the food chain and having to work against their will. And we don't see, people work against their will in America, but they go to air conditioning and stuff like that. They got weekends off, or
yeah.
So it's not an immediate type of thing, versus in another country where it's literal sweatshops, people unalived on the working floor, and then who knows what happens with their body after that. That's real stuff going on, amongst other atrocities. So, I've said on here many a time, man, there's a fake, kumbaya thing going on, a real hipster type movement where, everybody, let's just hold hands and let's do this and let's just be, whatever. And, all while they're doing that, they're driving a foreign car, they're doing this, they're doing that. And it's like, look, man, you're feeding into the beast.
You're a part of you're in the matrix.
Yeah. And so me personally, I pay rent, I buy stuff, I get phones, I'm on a computer, I don't feel good about it. It's what it is. It's what it is. And so therefore, since I know where I stand in it, I'm not going to sit here and throw stones.
Right.
For stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Unless I really feel like, somebody's being egregious about whatever. But if it's just regular hand-to-hand commerce, this guy gets booked for a show, he goes and shows up and do it. Who gives a darn, bro? Like, most people show up to jobs that are feeding the beast and perpetuating future generations of people being in the beast. So those people are no better. And the last thing I say is for the people that, and I really came up with this whole argument where people was hollering about, white privilege. And I was like, look, man, you benefit from white privilege, from being in America. You that same privilege. Now, granted, there's a privilege amongst, white people against black people, but their overarching privilege dynamic spans the globe and you benefit from it. And so people don't talk about that. And then on top of that, you have a North American privilege, which is kind of baked into that, but it's the North American privilege. And yeah, you get to have phones, drive around in cars, do all of this stuff, buy fancy basketball sneakers. And the person at the counter does something to you, and now you want to holler, white privilege and stuff like that, while you have shoes in your hands that, a kid in that country can't even afford to buy, can't even think about buying. So yeah, I think that argument is bogus. So once I kept hearing all of that stuff, in the mid 20 teens, all this stuff, when that stuff really started to blow up, at first I was kind of on board with it, but the more I started to think about it, I was like, well, it's so hypocritical, man. I mean, you're posting this online with a phone made through the same type of atrocity labor. So I'm not going to sit here and bark up that tree. Yeah, man, it sucks. But at the same time, man, I'm not going to act like I'm better than the next person in these type of dynamics. So it is what it is. He went out there, he did his show, and he went home. He didn't do anything egregious or offensive there. He just did a show. So I think it's just a whole lot of wolf tickets with this.
Yeah. The one thing that I will push back on you a little bit, even though I'm not disagreeing with you, is, even if individuals are part of a larger collective, depending on the nature of the situation, people will still call those people out. Like LeBron is an NBA player. He's employed by not the NBA. He's employed by the franchise that he plays for, which is a part of the association that is the NBA. So in the grand scheme of things, he is but an individual who is a part of the NBA, albeit he does have some social and celebrity oriented muscle that he can flex. But I don't even think LeBron by himself is bigger than that overall machine. But despite that, people still felt inclined to call him out specifically when it comes to, like people still felt inclined to call him out specifically when it came to China. And I think the reason why is because he's so vocal elsewhere. So it's a situation where it's based almost entirely on perceivability. And like people will look at the individual, if you are somebody who is perceived to be conscientious in certain regards, and they'll kind of put that energy on you, like, hey, you're conscientious here, so why can't you be conscientious there? And I can understand that point, but at the same time, you got to look in the mirror, because you sitting here calling him out for being selectively conscientious, and you do the same thing in your own private life yourself.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, I understand that he's LeBron or whomever, but change when it comes to humanity isn't instituted because celebrities and famous people decided they want to get on board. It takes a collective effort by all of humanity. So if you really are serious about these things mattering and impacting it on a level where the bottom line can be changed so that these things can stop, yes, it will require you to not use that phone. It will require you to not drive that car. It will, period. It will require you to not buy that particular kind of groceries or shop at this particular kind of grocery store. Like you really do have to stand on that level of business. The vast majority of us don't do that. So my whole thing is, they're a capitalist by nature. They're in it for self-preservation, as are you. So who are you to sit here and call these people out for doing these things, in my opinion? And then another thing, the last thing that I'll say is, sometimes people determine a greater level of impact that is made from person to person. So like, when it comes to Chappelle, or when it comes to a professional athlete, you might be a part of a larger nefarious machine, but at the end of the day, those are people living in these countries, and those are people who you might change a life here or there, or you might make somebody's day, or you might have somebody think differently about something on an individual level because of your participation. So who knows how many lives individually over there were impacted because Chappelle did that show. And I don't think that you can discount that on account of the larger overall nationalistic angle. And I'm not trying to dismiss the nationalistic angle, because I get it, but what happens when you're able to actually impact people individually? That matters too. So and same thing with an athlete. You got, basketball players going over there to China. I'll be seeing these videos. I remember when James Harden went to China, those kids were going crazy. So, China is what China is, right? But how many of those kids were made? How many of those kids' years, days, lives were made because they had that experience with James Harden? I don't think that you can summarily discredit that. So at a certain level, we also have to look at this from an individualistic standpoint. And I think a lot of people just kind of pinpoint on the overall issue of the geopolitics involved. And again, I don't want to dismiss that, but at the end of the day, people make the world go round, which also what has to do with changing things too. Corporations aren't going to change anything. Corporations are in the business to make money. Companies, sports leagues, you're pointing the finger at for-profit entities. You're always going to go to where the money is, no matter what. But what changes a lot of these dynamics is how individuals approach them. So I don't think we can discredit that. And I just wanted to make that point because, yeah, people always get backlash, or they really just want to always resort to the blame game, and they want to throw stones at, and I'm no LeBron fan, but you know, you want to throw stones at LeBron or you want to throw stones at Chappelle. Like at the end of the day, stop using that phone, stop using that computer. You know what I'm saying? Put the tablet down. All of that leads back to something horrible. Yep. And if you didn't know, get on that suspect device that you're using and Google it, because the information is free.
Yeah, man. And, you know, if you're walking around with a staff and a robe and Jesus sandals and you're off the grid somewhere and you know
living off the land, you better be living off the land.
Yeah, talking to a burning bush and splitting the Red Sea. Then at that point it's like, okay, bro, like you got the right to talk. You know what I'm saying? But nah, man, people ain't living like that, you know, unless you're the Amish, you know what I'm saying? And even to some degree, they still participate in some of the finaglery. So, nah, man, it is what it is, man. Nobody can really take a moral high ground when it comes to this. Everybody is complicit, whether intentionally or unintentionally, unfortunately. So, so this argument here, you know, trying to throw him under the bus in particular, I can't jive with it.
Yeah, me neither. I think it's weak.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Dave, man. Shout out to Chappelle, definite friend of the channel. Always respect over here. Sure. And as we continue to chronicle the aggressive mainstreaming of sex working in the West, we have our latest edition in this entry with Shannon Elizabeth. Now, Gen Zers probably don't know who this person is, but if you are a millennial, you probably recognize the face because she was made famous by being the sexy character in the movie American Pie. But that's not why we're talking about Shannon Elizabeth on this episode of Conscious Approach necessarily. Rather, she's making news because she decided to let everybody know that she is quote unquote taking her career back. And how is she taking her career back? Well, she is taking her career back in perhaps the only way that she and others in her position know how to take their careers back. She's going on OnlyFans. So as we continue to chronicle how this stuff is playing out over time, here's the latest edition of this time involving Shannon Elizabeth, who is saying that this is being done in a move to empower her career and take control back. Remember that word. Remember when we talked about that? Was that last week? The idea of control when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we go again. So this says American Pie star Shannon Elizabeth launches OnlyFans page to take back control of her career. American Pie star Shannon Elizabeth has joined OnlyFans with the hopes of taking back control of the narrative and outcome of her career. The actress's page officially launched this week, and its build is featuring behind-the-scenes moments, exclusive photos and videos, candid glimpses of her life, and the chance to talk with her directly. Here you'll find the side of me that doesn't make it into the movies, more playful, spontaneous, and completely unscripted, Elizabeth wrote in the description of her newly launched OF page. If you've ever been curious what I'm really like, you're about to find out. In comments provided to people, Elizabeth elaborated further by highlighting the appeal of the platform, specifically zeroing in on how it will allow her to take the reins on her career after spending decades caught up in the larger Hollywood infrastructure. I've spent my entire career working in Hollywood, where other people control the narrative and the outcome of my career. This new chapter is about changing that, showing off a more sexy side no one has seen, and being closer to my fans. I'm choosing OnlyFans because it allows me to connect directly with my audience, create on my own terms, and just be free. I really do think this is the future. Well, she's not wrong about that. In the 1999 comedy American Pie, featuring a memorable cameo by Blink-182, Elizabeth played Czech exchange student Nadia, a role she reprised for its 2001 sequel. She returned to the character again in American Reunion, released in 2012. All right, so there you go. That's pretty much the gist of it. So she's taking the reins back, controlling the narrative of her career, showing a more spontaneous, sexy side. And the way to do that, of course, is to hop on to OnlyFans. So this, to me, as far as I'm concerned, is another episode in the book of Conscious Approach Chronicles, the aggressive mainstreaming and normalization of sex working. So what do you think about here? Shannon Elizabeth from American Pie fame being the latest of these celebritantes to jump on OnlyFans.
Of course, not surprised, especially when you're dealing with people who, well, I'm gonna just go ahead and say it like this, bro. You know, people who, yeah, man, people who did casting couch stuff to get to where they at. You know, they had to do things. They had to, you know, little strange things to get roles and or to be in privileged positions or in the right type of circles. I mean, this stuff is well documented at this point. This isn't speculation. This isn't tinfoil hat stuff. Like there's journals written on this type of stuff. So when you're dealing with an industry where these people, a lot of these people, I'll go ahead and say that, where a lot of these people have done favors to be in the positions that they're in. You know, it's not difficult to do it again, but for yourself. And so to tackle the control angle, you know, I'm going galaxy brain here, but it's to bring it back home. But it's so yeah, I was a part of a group when I was in college, Men Can Stop Grape, and you know they had a lot of stuff that they would you know, talk about or whatever. But the thing that stuck out to me, one of the things that stuck out to me, was that, you know, they were saying that that crime is done. It's about control from the abuser, and you know, the victims tend to feel like they don't have control. And then that's why they tend to spiral afterwards and other things, because it's a part of them that was taken. It's kind of like, you know, you walking up to your car and, you know, you get in there and you can see that somebody was in your car, you know, moving stuff around, throwing stuff out of the glove compartment and, you know, taking stuff out of your car. It's a hollow kind of feeling. It's like, damn, man. But it's with that person for life because they know that happened to them. So it's a sense of not having control. So for these people that sold parts of themselves just so they can be on the big screen, I'm sure there's some people that feel some type of way about it, and feel some type of way about that part of their life, that area, that compartment. So when it comes to reclaiming it, some people go to the extreme when it comes to trying to reclaim control of that department. And so it doesn't help that the economy is what it is, that she can scroll online and see that Lunel okay, is in a bathtub making money. All right. She said, hey man, I'm an American Pie baddie. I still got a cult following. You know, only thing I got to do is tell people that I'm gonna be as sexy as ever, and I'm gonna get all those guys that I meet at these conferences or I'm at the airport and all this other stuff. I'm gonna get their money. I need money, because what is she doing now? I don't know what she's doing. So yeah, man, I'm pretty sure the money's dried up, and so yeah, in this economy, if these guys are giving out free money, and you're already used to, you know, being out there in that department, what is it for you to wear lingerie, bikinis, and all this other stuff, slightly show feet, you know what I'm saying, and do all of these things? So it don't even have to get to the point where these celebrities are busting it wide open. Stacey Dash got one. You know what I'm saying? So they all getting them. So yeah, it's part of the it's like a step process. You graduate to this. So yeah, man, I'm not surprised that she's doing it, and I know for sure there's going to be more, 90s women, early 2000 women, coming out with their pages. So I know Topanga. I know she was doing that Christian thing. Hey, when that well runs by, all right, hey, you know what I'm saying? Because she already know that's in her back pocket. She ain't gonna tell y'all that. So, what's your thoughts, man, on these this American Pie woman Shannon Elizabeth saying that, hey guys, she's giving it out for free. Well, not for free, but she's giving it out online, and all you gotta do is subscribe to her channel. What are your thoughts, man?
If Topanga does it, she'll break the internet. I think Topanga will break the internet. I do. Topanga hits the Richter scale for millennials 10 times the rate that this chick does.
Absolutely.
So she'll break the internet for sure. I hear everything that you're saying, and I'm perfectly cool with that. I just want us to not lose the plot on this. Mm-hmm. And as this stuff continues to transpire, we need to do our due diligence to continue to categorize it appropriately. She's becoming a sex worker. That's my whole thing. Let's not code this as anything other than what it is. Because all of that flowery language that she used in that article, all of that stuff sounds great and is pretty well written. Kind of seems like she had a publicist. She had a publicist or somebody write that out for her. That all sounded great. I want to control the narrative of my career. I want to make sure that I'm taking the power back, and I want to invite my fans in to get to know me better. All of that stuff sounds all of that stuff sounds good. But make no mistake about it, she's becoming a sex worker. And you do not have to actually be having sex in order to be a sex worker. There are all kinds of different capacities of sex work. And I'm not trying to rank one over the other. I am merely stating the fact that they are all categorized beneath the umbrella of sex working. We need to make sure that we continue to identify it as such. Because as time progresses and we continue to aggressively mainstream this stuff, over time we will forget that. And we'll just continue to call it things that don't denote that it is something that does come with a certain level of scrutiny. And I think we've lost the plot officially when that happens. And we're already inching towards that. We're inching closer in that direction. But we haven't quite gotten there yet. We're still at a point in which, there is a certain level of scrutiny that comes along with electing to enter into this particular line of work, quote unquote. Now, of course, if you are a celebrity or a famous person of notoriety or anything like that, the scrutiny is different, right? Because you're a public figure. When you're an individual who hops onto this stuff, it's a lesser level of scrutiny, but the scrutiny still exists all the same because maybe your family is going to scrutinize it, or your immediate social circle, or your peer group, or your coworkers. We do have proof, though, that the scrutiny still exists nonetheless, because I see a story seemingly every other day where I'm seeing some woman who got fired from her teaching job because the school found out that she did OnlyFans. Now, the only reason why that's still happening is because the scrutiny still exists. But trust me, within the next 5 to 10 years, as we continue to aggressively mainstream this stuff, that scrutiny is going to disappear, and you are going to have elementary school, middle school teachers who are openly sex workers, and they're not going to lose their job as a result. Because the idea is, let them have their control. Let them control their own narrative. Let them have their own power. Yeah, whatever. They just want to be sex workers and make easy money on the sexual marketplace. And we just got to call that for what it is. You're absolutely right. She's looking at the landscape and she is seeing Lunel in that dirty bath water. Boy, and she's looking around and she's saying, "I'm pretty. I was in American Pie. Yeah. I had a whole bunch of these millennial men with my poster on their wall. You know, they were probably splacking off to it in their dungeon on a daily basis, right? So why can't I capitalize that off of that to a higher degree by hopping onto this platform. It's ready made for me as an attractive woman. I'm just going to carve my own niche within the sexual marketplace. Spare me all of this narrative about controlling your career and wanting to gain control of the narrative. You just want to make money on the sexual marketplace, plain and simple. Because if it was all about all of that other stuff that you was talking, you go start a podcast. Like go try to be the next Call Her Daddy, or the next whatever, the next Michelle Obama with her media empire that she's trying to jump off. Those individuals don't have anything that's controlling their narrative. But you're going on Onlyfans. Why? Because the barrier to entry is low and you can just easily get in there and profit off of the sexual marketplace. So let's make sure we don't lose the plot with this stuff. She's becoming a sex worker because of its ease of use and the open opportunity in spite of the ease, and the open opportunity in lieu of the ease of use. Coding it with all of that flowery language and all of that pretty stuff is good for the internet, is good for social media, and is good for mass consumption. But at the end of the day, let's not lose this plot, people, because all this is let me hop on this to make this money on the sexual marketplace. Because still at this juncture, even though it still gets scrutinized, it nevertheless is easy.
Yeah, I agree, bro. But when we're dealing with the masses, you're going to be dealing with a population of people that, for the most part, are in a bad space psychologically. And whenever people opt to do this, I would say that they're not in the right state of mind. And when you're dealing with the masses in general, they're not in the right space. They're not in the right state of mind. And so for the masses to be moving, they always move in a direction together. It's a big groupthink situation. And so when you do have social engineers who have their ways of controlling the narrative of what the masses should think, then those people in mass join that. And then it will become a point where it's absolutely normalized, because there's things going on right now that are 100% normalized that should not be. And the overwhelming majority of the people are doing it. And so, and I'm not above this. So, there's things that I do or think or said or whatever that was part of that mass social engineering. And this is just another wave of it. This is just another layer of it that is going on. Because again, in my first little segment there, where I was just talking about, the psychological effects that some people may have, and those people have that. And if those people didn't get help, or they consume things by social engineers, that's an easy little door to walk through, and people just get into stuff. So the people that do have the outrage, yeah, they're out there. They were already in the minority, and that number is going to continue to shrink, especially as the economy gets rougher and rougher. Because as it gets rougher, I'm pretty sure there's some type of correlation that when the economy is getting rougher, guys are going outside less and consuming this garbage more. So this is an industry that's going to be around, and it's going to be a thing. Absolutely. And it's only going to get more pervasive and more normalized. And so, yeah, we can push back on it. I'm not saying that we should stop, but when you're dealing with the masses, they're going to always do what they do. And there's nothing, for the most part, that you can do about it. So, I think, the best course of action, of course, is is, pointing it out as we do, but walk the walk ourselves, as individuals that aren't standing for this. But you gotta affect your radius, the people that's around you, the people that you call your friends, your loved ones, people that you're raising, all of this other stuff, because you got to be able to think for yourself, because the social engineering is at an all-time high. Mm-hmm. And statements like this don't help it. It like you said, all that flowery language, it adds to the layers of confusion, because there's a lot of people confused right now who don't feel like they're in control, and they ain't had none of that stuff happen to them that I mentioned in the first part. They just don't feel like they're in control. Where's my career going? I got a degree, all this debt, I ain't got nowhere to go. I need control of my life. Well, here's this woman saying that she's reclaiming her control. She's spinning the narrative. I need to spin my narrative. And it's just that simple. So yeah, man, this stuff's wild. We're doing our part. We're part of the resistance. In this Mad Max world we're living in right now. So, but yeah, man. Chalk this up, another one in the Chronicles, bruh. But I'm telling you right now, man, I agree with you with the aggressive normalization, and it will get to the point to where we have somebody in a very prominent position, or somebody in a position that should be respectful, and nothing sexual attached to it, will do it casually, and it'll be a casual thing. And you brought up school teachers. You name it, professors, doctors, absolutely, all of that, the whole nine.
There's gonna be NASA astronauts.
Hey man, that's gonna go crazy. They got a live feed in space.
I can't. I can't wait for that one. The first OnlyFans feed from space. Because we are going. I mean, I've graduated from railing against it because I wanted to stop. Mm-hmm. I moved on from that, and now what I'm on is trying to put words to power in terms of making sure we don't lose the plot in what we're looking at. Mm-hmm. That's my whole thing, because like we're inching closer to a point in which, and I've told you this before, it's not really going to be considered sex work anymore. It's just going to be considered whatever. It's not going to really have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, like me telling you I'm studying to get an apprenticeship in welding. When I make that statement to you, you don't think twice about whether that comes with a certain level of scrutiny or not. It's understood implicitly. Okay, he's going to learn how to be a welder. What we're inching to with this inception is OnlyFans and sex work in general also being categorized as such, meaning whether it's casual conversation, official conversation, job interview, resume building, formal education. It doesn't matter what capacity or context we're talking. The idea is going to be that being something that you're involved with is just as passe as me learning to become a welder. Mm-hmm. And so I'm merely saying that we have to make sure that we identify that that's what's happening right before our very eyes. When I speak of the aggressive normalization of sex work, I'm not speaking on it from the standpoint of the need for its eradication, but rather it's for the need for us to understand what's actually happening, the coding of it, the way that perceivably the conversation around it is slowly but surely migrating over into a form of just run-of-the-mill legitimacy. Oh, I'm going to be a bartender. I'm going to study real estate. I'm going to pass the bar. I'm going to take this, or I'm going to do that. I'm going to learn about finance. Oh, I'm going to do OnlyFans. And it's no different than all those other things. That's the thing that's happening. And that's what I choose to call out. And that's what I'm trying to chronicle. Because, of course, the more of your immediate peer group that you see doing it, the more it becomes understood to you as an individual that this is completely normalized behavior now. It is devoid of any level of scrutiny. So why shouldn't I do it at this point? And, we might be getting there, but we just got to make sure that we continue to notice it and to kind of identify it as such, as opposed to allowing the inception to win, where we are effectively convinced that it really is just a job.
Yep.
So
no, yeah, well said, man. And last thing I'll say about it is, you know, and this is not like a moral high ground conversation, at least for me. You know, of course, I know it's not for you. It's not like a moral high ground thing. You know, I brought up the thing before on previous discussions that, you know, I just want to make sure you're able to sleep at night. And when I call something out, it's like, will you be able to? I don't think you'll be able to sleep well doing those things.
At first, maybe, but in the long run,
yeah, in the long run, it's, you know, a stripper with a bag of money. You know, she'll post it on Instagram. She'll let all the other baddies know and all of her followers know that she's getting to the money. You know, she's taking pictures overseas. She's on flights. She's doing all of this stuff. She got a BBL. Life's great. Life's great for her.
She's in Dubai.
You know what I'm saying? She's in Dubai. And so life's great for her, perceivably. But, you know, I would argue a lot of those women cry at night, you know, and sometimes they'll even cry in their posts, you know, even though they're flexing or something like that. They'll put indicators out there or little subtle things that let them know that let people know that they're not pleased. They're not happy. They have a Ferrari and they're crying in it. So if the trade-off for your peace and your sanity is money, then go do it. But if you want to be able to sleep at night with a clean conscience, you know, and just be able to relax and do something, not have somebody walk up to you and say, hey, you that girl that made that video with your feet in the you know what I'm saying? I'm with my children. Hey, look, woman, this is your job. So if this guy recognize you and want to embarrass you in front of your family, you know what I'm saying? That's what comes with this. So if you can't sleep at night because of that, then that's what that's my warning of, that's why I don't think it's clean. But if you can sleep at night or whatever, you're probably a sociopath.
Yeah. And that's the point. That is the point. Because they are going to be able to continue to sleep. The lack of an ability to sleep at night in this particular example is due to feelings of insecurity, which I would say come from the perceived scrutiny or general feeling that there's something not right about this. Now, what happens when over time that feeling of it not being all the way right or the scrutiny overall is removed from the equation? Yeah, so when those elements are removed from the equation, then you don't have a reason to react to anything that's going to make you feel like you can't sleep because of this.
Right.
So that's the whole thing. It's like, that's the normalization of it. That's the normalization, not whether it's inherently or fundamentally right or wrong, because I'm with you. I'm not trying to get into the moral aspect of it. It is whether there is some kind of scrutiny that is associated with this. And if that is removed, then there's nothing incentivizing you, or rather de-incentivizing you, to feel any type of way about it. So at that point, the collective masses will continue to migrate over to conforming to this behavior. And I would just say that there's nothing sociopath, like, you can't really be sociopathic about something that you have no feelings to. Like, let's say you kill a bunny rabbit, and you know that killing a bunny rabbit is bad, but you have no feelings because you just don't care. Like, on the inside, you just feel no type of way about the fact that you killed this bunny rabbit, and you know that what you did was wrong, but you're going to go about your day with it not affecting you at all. That's sociopathic. But if you have no spatial awareness for the fact that doing this is in fact a wrong act, and you just did it, then you're just going to keep it moving, because ignorantly you don't even know that what you did was wrong at all. So is that sociopathic at that point?
Yeah, and my point, and I hear you, and my point is that it's such a, to lack to do these things, there's a pulling on there's a value pool that should feel natural without social whatever. Like there's something should trigger on you when somebody just slammed money on a table and walked out. That should trigger something. If you don't feel anything at all, then you're not just a sociopath there. You're a sociopath everywhere. Yeah, because that lack of empathy or that lack of feel that you feel in those scenarios will transcend other factors in life.
Absolutely.
And so that's the alarming part of it, you know. But I guess I'm more of a person that feels like some of that stuff is like an inherent.
I feel
like,
you.
Yeah, built in.
You're nature over nurture when it comes to that.
Yeah. And I think because as much programming as I had, you know, coming up and as crazy as I wanted it to be, when I was out there playing the game, having fun initially, because I'm doing what I wanted to do, but it was certain contexts where, you know, she would just get up and leave, which what I wanted. I didn't want her to stay, but something felt wrong about that exchange. It felt like something was taken from me. And I didn't like that. I didn't like my energy going to everybody. So there's something about keeping your energy for yourself and not selling it to the world. And if you can sell it to the world without batting an eye, I think you'll do anything else without batting an eye.
I agree with that. Yeah. This is aggressive. The aggressive normalization of sex work can be a stand-in for other things as well. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Whatever personality trait enables one to be able to do that unimpeded is certainly transferable across the board to other areas of life. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I just think that this is the more glaring way to observe that dynamic because of the time that we're living in which we are seeing that all you have to do is just dangle that carrot of making money in front of these people and create this narrative that there's nothing really wrong with it because it's you taking your control back. And suddenly we're off to the races with how this stuff is just being mainstreamed into the ground.
Wow.
So that's what I want us to try to make sure that we identify, because I hear everything that you're saying, but I just kind of feel like when you dull people's senses in that way, it doesn't really matter. And remember what I told you a few weeks ago, bro, because I hear what you're saying about, because you're looking at it existentially. It's a natural part of the human experience to feel some type of way about certain things. Right. And I'm inclined to agree with you on that. But I also believe, and I'll say it again, I do believe that there are some people out here who are genuinely born with no soul. I think that, yeah. So like if you are born without a soul, you're born without the capacity for that.
I agree.
So maybe the good news with this kind of stuff is that it makes it.
And they're the social engineers. You know what I'm saying?
Like this is perhaps allowing us an easier way to be able to identify those people. But yeah, man, I think that there are soulless people in the world. I do. I think that. Now, I'm not saying that she's one of those individuals, and I'm not saying that a woman who jumps on Onlyfans is inherently soulless, but it's just try to tie that aspect of it in. And we just got to make sure that we continue to call this stuff for what it is. Like a spade is a spade, ladies and gentlemen. Do not let the internet and the media and these agents of chaos bamboozle us into the belief that this is just somehow about power and control and narratives. No, this is about making money. And in her case, making money on the sexual marketplace, because for her, it will be easy to do it. And it's a done deal.
Yeah, I agree, bro.
Shouts out to all of my guys out there who don't spend money on OnlyFans. All right. You guys are the real MVP. And to all you dudes out there who are giving your money to this monstrosity, I will say once again, please get off that narcotic.
Yeah, man. Y'all stay safe out here, man. It's a cold world, bro.
We move on to an interesting study that I saw involving Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden has a nickname for being the world's most famous arena. I don't know how that can be quantified, but it's just something that people say because it's a nickname that it has. But Interesting story that I ran across was Madison Square Garden. It's been revealed that they utilize very sophisticated surveillance technology, and there are growing concerns over issues of like privacy and the way that that information can be leveraged and used in other capacities. So this says Madison Square Garden owner uses surveillance to spy on people. New investigative report. While fans flock to MSG for live events, it seems the arena also operates a high-level surveillance system that monitors its attendees. According to a new report from Wired, James Dolan, the executive chairman of MSG Entertainment, has facial recognition and biometric monitoring systems at MSG, as well as at Radio City Music Hall and the Sphere in Las Vegas, which he uses to track specific people. Dolan has reportedly kept internal watch lists on individuals. MSG has previously denied entry to a graphic designer who created an anti-Dolan t-shirt and a law firm after one of its employees bothered Dolan, signaling that the way Dolan targets people goes beyond typical safety concerns. An extremely detailed example of a person who was tracked at MSG is Nina Richard, a pseudonym for a transgender woman whose name was changed in Wired's report. Over the course of 2 years, MSG surveilled her, and on one occasion during a New York Knicks game in January 2022, MSG's threat management group logged her movements in an 18-page report. She wasn't trying to go places she shouldn't be. This is just a very large transgender woman being a fan walking around. Per a lawsuit filed by former security staffer Donnie Ingrassalino, security chief John Eversole became obsessed with her, continuing to single her out, misgender her, and encouraging staff to watch her. The lawsuit says that Richard was eventually banned from MSG based on a false stalking allegation. Ingrassalino also claimed that individuals, even those with criminal histories, didn't prompt this level of scrutiny. MSG responded to Wired's report. This story is built on false, misleading, and unverified allegations, including claims drawn from lawsuits filed by rapacious litigators. We categorically reject such reckless reporting and are actively evaluating our legal options against Wired. So apparently they're about to get litigious with these people because they stated this report is bogus. But what I thought that this was interesting. What do you think about the idea that they are using this advanced technology to surveil specific people in this place?
I can see, I can see the benefit of this, if they're really following bad actors. But if it can be used, which why not? It can just be used on anybody that they feel is a bad actor, then that is alarming. That is alarming. So what I say by bad actors is like if I own a casino and this guy be playing funny, he play funny, he win a little too much, and he always be coming in with this other guy, but they split up, or they park at the same spot, or they come in like 15 minutes after each other. Like I want to be able to pick that up if I own a casino. So I get it in certain contexts because people are trying to scam me. MSG is a big venue, so they host concerts, they do other things than just basketball. So I can see why they would want to have that level of surveillance. But if you're just following some transgender person, I think that's the abusive. Unless that person was actually being, belligerent, they were, wearing inappropriate stuff, or, there was complaints about that person because, somebody got offended or they offend people, they're rude or whatever. So it's like, okay, well, we keep getting complaints about this same 6'4" woman. All right. All right. With a 5 o'clock shadow. We keep getting that. All right. Who is this person? So they identify that person. And whenever they come in, they follow that person around or whatever. Hey man, every time I go into HEB, they're surveilling my ass. I got an impeccable history. I go in there and I buy whatever I buy, even if I go self-checkout. You know what I'm saying? I do what I do. but every time I walk in there, they're biometrically watching my behind. All right, because I'm a few shades darker than the rest of the people in here. I already know that. All right, and I think I shared on here before, but yeah, I had a situation, man, where, this is a lady that was working in the flower section, just taking her job a little too serious. She works in the flower section. Every time I look up, she's peeking her head around the corner and dashing whenever I look her way. So the final time I went to an aisle doing my regular shopping, and she did it again. I was like, you know what? I'm going to customer service on her behind. I ain't do nothing to trigger this. What's going on? I'm here every day. So I went and I snitched on her behind. I'm bringing that up to say is that's just the reality. Whenever you're dealing with these things, all right, they got surveillance driving down the highway. You know what I'm saying? They following cars, taking pictures of license plates. They want to know where the hell you going. Your phone's following you. Everything's following you. Everything's tracking and surveilling. So I'm not surprised that a corporation or a venue like Madison Square Garden is doing it. I just think that if they're just doing it just to do it, then I think that is the problem here. So I think that's a little wild, but you're not going to stop them. There's no regulations or integrity stuff behind this. They can watch whoever the heck they want to watch, and they can kick you out for whatever reason they want to. So yeah, to say that I like it, no, I don't like it, but it's the new reality. But what are your thoughts, man, on MSG getting found out to be biometrically watching and surveilling their attendees? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, it is kind of weird. I wouldn't mind it if they were being investigated for abuse of power, because I agree. I think when it transcends the interesting thing about it is it's up to their discretion. How do they define
a bad actor
or suspicious behavior? Like, how do you define that, right? Because what does that even mean? Like, this reminded me of what was that movie I seen, Eagle Eye? There was Eagle Eye and an Enemy of the State, which is an older movie, where they're basically using this sophisticated technology to surveil people unknowingly for mundane reasons. And it's like, at what point does this transcend into a deep state in which we're just being surveilled, even if there's no suspicion involved? It reminded me, honestly, the first thing that I thought of was COINTELPRO, only from the standpoint that it's up to how something is defined or interpreted. And when you're dealing with that level of gray, I'm uncomfortable with that. Because with COINTELPRO, the FBI was basically like, we are surveilling people who have been determined to be threats to national security.
Yeah.
But when you take a deep dive into who they're looking at, then it begs the question, okay, what do you mean by national security? Like, at that point, what is national security? How do you define that when you're spying on musicians and people who ain't doing nothing but just doing a job? Like, what does that mean at that point? Like, what is national security? And so, like, when it comes to this situation here, like, how are you using this technology? When you say you use it to make sure that you're ensuring the safety of people, or you're making sure that you're monitoring people that have been flagged, what are the parameters that have gone into said flagging? What did they do? Like, what is it that makes it suspicious? Are you just making this up? Like, what's the standard? How do you define that? I don't like gray area when it comes to this level of power. But of course, it's replete throughout every other part of business in this country and every other area of industrialism. So I'm not surprised by the presence of this. I know that it goes on, but it just opens up the lens for how does one identify the scope upon which to utilize the power that they wield. So I wouldn't mind if there was a deeper dive taken into this, because if it's determined that they're just kind of willy-nilly inventing the various standards upon which they're using to monitor people, then that's definitely a problem, because I don't like gray area, and I don't like people being able to make stuff up. That is not okay, and I'm uncomfortable by that. This transgender person, by all appearances, even though they were 6'5" with a 5 o'clock shadow, kind of doesn't really seem like doesn't seem like they were bothering anybody. They were just checking out an event at MSG, and here they go being surveilled because of what? And I'm pretty sure they can make something up. But what does that making something up even mean? Like, how are we defining this stuff? What are the guidelines? What are the standards? Like, you can just make this stuff up on your own. Like the FBI was essentially making up what national security meant back then. And in doing so, they were allowed to just kind of operate with impunity, unchecked. And so, yeah, this needs to be kind of looked into, in my opinion, because people don't need to be showing up to arenas and getting surveilled to this magnitude off of something that people are just making up. So I don't know what the resolution is going to be, but it's definitely not something that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, man, and suspicious behavior is very ambiguous, because what is that? Cops pull people over because they think they're being suspicious. What's suspicious about this? To go back to my analogy in the store, if I'm shopping, and I'm in an area, let's say I'm in a produce section where there's lemons and stuff, and I'm holding lemons in my hand, and somebody called me, I open my phone, or I just see what time it is, put the phone back in my pocket. I could have put a lemon in my pocket. So now I'm being suspicious. So now the system flags me. You know what I'm saying? Or if this is whatever this AI thing that they're using, or whatever they're using to, hey, that guy, he's probably, let's follow him around. He didn't steal nothing yet, And so, and then since I'm biometrically recorded, every time I waddle my behind in a building, it's like, hey, that's that guy we flagged 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's that about? It's about Big Brother. It's about mass surveillance.
Yeah.
Because all of this stuff gets reported to databases. All of this stuff is sold.
Yeah, it's housed on servers.
Yeah. So it's kind of like not only it's housed on servers, but it can also be subpoenaed or whatever at any. So these are extensions of a larger body. I'll say that. And so just yesterday, man, I'm sitting there. I'm with the people in the comment section. I was on TikTok. Prego, because I had to confirm this just now, but yeah, it's real. I mean, it was a news article. It was a news segment I saw. Prego, the spaghetti company, has now launched a product that can record, it says, dinner conversations. And it's like, oh, don't worry, it's not connected to the internet or any Wi-Fi. Like, well, what is it recording? What is it reporting it to? Where's it going? Why would I buy a Prego listening device? Why would I do that? And it's like, it's on sale for $20 or something like. Why would somebody go out of their way to buy a device so they could just listen to whatever the hell? Data collection is part of the new wave. If you're not mining data, you ain't making no cash. So part of this biometric scans and all this other stuff is, on one hand, it's about some guy that's working, and has an obsession with a 6'5" woman with a 5 o'clock shadow. There's that guy too, but there's also that element of all of this stuff going to servers and being sold.
Yeah.
And so, and who's interested in all of this? Who's interested in biometric scans and all this other stuff? What's the purpose of this? What is the end game? What's the goal? I don't have those answers. All right. But yeah, the Prego thing was strange to me, and it's only going to get more and more pervasive. That's why I said, man, like, you buy a light bulb, you buy an LED light bulb, where it's, a dimming thing, and you got to connect it to a Wi-Fi. For what?
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah.
So everything that's asking for a passcode, everything's asking, all these things are surveilling, man. So yeah, we're in a wild state, man. And yeah, that's a real ambiguous thing. That was a good point you made. Like, what is national security? What is threatening? What is this? What is that? Because these terms tend to change over time, and what does that look like, down the line, man? So, everybody's already walking on pins and needles, man. You know, good, honest, tax-paying people already walking on pins and needles when they shouldn't have to. And so now they got to worry about stuff like this. So, yeah, man, it's just the signs of the times, bro. I don't know where it's leading, but, you know, there's a lot of movies that point in this direction. Yeah. And I think that's where we're headed, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're definitely headed to a surveilled state, I kind of feel. You know, it's like the Minority Report. You remember the movie Minority Report?
Yeah, that was a hell of a movie, man.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but like in that future, you could just basically walk into a store and they would immediately scan your face, and then you'd see your face. Yeah, right. Yeah, bro. Like,
yeah, bro. Pre-crime. That's what we doing. Yeah, bro. Yeah, they're gonna be on that.
This stuff is wild, bro. And yeah, data is very valuable, is a very valuable commodity for sure. And yeah, you can't convince me that information that they are maintaining in their servers or however they house it isn't worth a lot of money to some separate entity that wants to be able to harness that information for whatever it is that they're creating or building.
For sure.
Yeah, it's just that all of this stuff is just always up to interpretation, you know, like so. And you can always do it because who's going to disagree with that? Who's going to disagree with the need for security? Who's going to disagree with the need to monitor suspicious activity? Of course, these are all concepts that we can all understand, but how do you interpret that? What do you mean by suspicious? Like suspicious activity for MSG might mean something different than suspicious activity at your casino. And it's all open to interpretation. And so long as it's deregulated, they can basically wield it however they want. So, you know, it's crazy stuff, man. But anybody who's going to MSG anytime soon, just know that they are scanning your face and your movements, you know, while you're in there. So, you know,
they got tall women out there, apparently.
Yeah. Stay on your toes, man. Stay on your toes. Literally. And now we have an interesting story involving a young man by the name of Julian Brown. Julian Brown is an inventor who developed a technology called pyrolysis, which basically it converts plastic waste into fuel. And he's speaking on his election to not purchase a patent because, you know, basically he was saying that whenever you do patent something, you're basically on the fast track to having it stolen or, you know, co-opted or anything like that. So this is a pretty interesting interview. This kid is, you say he's 22 years old?
Yeah, that's what the internet say, yeah.
Yeah, 22 years old. So he's explaining why he didn't go the route of having his invention patented, which is counterintuitive to what most people would think. You would think that something of this scale and of this magnitude, you would go through the process of making sure that it's protected, that it can't be replicated or duplicated or stolen. And he's saying, no, you don't do that. He didn't go through the patent because due to various things that are beyond his control with large corporations and money, it's actually against your best interest to actually patent your invention. So here is Mr. Brown talking about why he didn't have his pyrolysis technology, his pyrolysis invention patented.
Very intentionally do not have my technology patented.
Why?
Because the patent industry is actually very corrupt. I learned this because I, at one point, was patent pending. And then one day I went to a Rotary Club meeting and I spoke with the inventor of the wireless key fob for cars. And he told me, GM stole my stuff. And I said, well, you have a patent, didn't you? And he's like, yeah, I have like 70 patents. And I've been to every country on earth almost. I'm like, so how'd they steal your stuff with the patent? He's like, because a patent doesn't mean anything to big players. All a patent is a means for you to go to court and say, hey, they infringed on my patent. But when you're in court, that's a whole different story. Now you're in court And now you have to prove to the judge that they've infringed on your patent. Now you need to fight their lawyers. Okay, you're an inventor, you came up with something, and you're fighting this big industry that has billions of dollars, and they can just go to court over and over and over again and take you and fight you and fight you and fight you until you have no money left. So even though you know they stole your thing, you can't prove it anymore, because all they have to do is keep rebutting it in court over and over again. They have the funds to do that. You don't, because you're not GM. You're not whoever, you know? And so he told me, he's like, the truth is, if you want something to be yours, because when you patent something, it becomes public knowledge. It gets published on the patent directory. Mm-hmm. I know that because I literally looked up patents for pyrolysis reactors to get inspiration to build mine. So that means anybody on earth can look up your patent and see how it was built, how it was made, and then make a copy, make a few changes, and then say it was theirs. And then you can go and fight them, but that takes time, that takes money. And then at some point, you can't do it anymore. You're trying to invent. You're not trying to be you're not, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're an inventor, not a lawyer. Mm-hmm. You're trying to fight people in court for the rest of your life. So he told me that, and he's like, the key is really trade secrets. Think about it. He's like, Coca-Cola did not patent the Coca-Cola formula. Why? Because if they patented the formula,
they would know it.
Everybody would know it. Even though nobody can copy it, everybody would know it, and you best believe they'd copy it. Because guess what? In China, there's no patent law. It just goes to, that's why they have Chinese knockoffs of everything. They have no patent enforcement in China and so many other countries. So then he's like, and guess what you had to do? You had to go and get a patent in every country on earth. You know how much that cost? So much money. And then you had to renew it.
Yeah.
And so you paid all this money that could have gone into your actual invention to get the patent, which means nothing because they'll just go and take it and copy it. Then you have to spend money fighting them in court. And then I heard the story from inventor after inventor after inventor. And they always said to me, trade secrets are the key.
What's trade secrets? You just don't tell anybody.
Trade secrets are things that you have that nobody knows. And I have a few trade secrets on my machine that nobody knows. That you can look at my machine on a video camera and not know these certain particular material sciences
and the workings of it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But I have another play. So there's this thing called public domain. Once you have something published online for over a year, nobody can patent it. All my machines are public domain. Nobody can patent any of my machines because they've all been visible in the public for over a year.
And that's because you're putting them on social media.
Exactly. So that saves things, because now there's no way a company can come and just shelf it, patent what I made, copy it and shelf it and hide it.
All right. So there you go. So there's Mr. Brown there. Some knowledge there. Of course, he learns a lot of that stuff with being around other network, being in a network of other inventors who kind of schooled him on the futility of going the route of purchasing patents for your invention, basically citing your inability to fight corporations who have billions of dollars to spend in court over and over again in order to protect the exclusive right to whatever it is that you created. So what did you think about that?
I never thought of that. When I first heard him talking, I was experiencing some cognitive dissonance there. I was like, come on, bro, you got to get this patented, man. What are you talking about? This sounds ridiculous. But here I am doubting a young man who can turn plastic into fuel. All right. So as he continued to explain, I was like, you know what? That actually makes a lot of damn sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. And the thing that really drove it home was the Coca-Cola thing. That really drove it home for me. And I was like, you know what? That's damn true. Now I haven't verified that it's not patented, but I can pretty much say that. Yeah. Why would they patent it? So to me, it makes a lot of sense. Something that I never thought of. I am an inspiring inventor myself. I didn't come out with, but I have theories of things that I think that will be revolutionary to help people be a little bit more lazier in their life. But I always wanted to patent it. I wanted to patent it and then go through that process. But with this little explanation has shown me is like, you know what? You're right, man. You can't go to war with GE, for instance. This is flipping GE, man. They got money on top of money. you know, and I can find, you know, the best lawyer that I can find because they believe in my product and blasey splees or whatever, but I can't fight the Justice League over there. You know what I'm saying? Like they got top-notch people, all right, from Ivy League universities. Like, they don't play. They know the ins and outs, and they know the judges and all that. So yeah, things are going to get delayed, pushed back, or whatever. And yeah, I can see that that's going to drain you. That's going to drain you. I think the best, I hear his point when it comes to trade secrets. You know, I would max that out for that year of this public domain thing, and then try to find a way to flip it, and come off of it. Because look, bruh, this is a wild world. And if you are the one person walking around with the, you know, invention, let's say, or whatever, and you're holding it close to the vest, you're not patenting it. So all these large corporations are watching you and like, all right, bro, put it on the market so we can rip it off. And you're never doing it. If you didn't have a target on you before, you're definitely going to have a target now. So, you know, the angle of, you know, you get it patented and they got the lawyers to go fight it. Well, if you don't get it patented, I think they got other people to come fight that too, you know. So I think when you're out here playing this kind of game, is you make a name for yourself, you make a brand for yourself, and then you get off of it, you know. I think, you know, it sucks, man. You know, you want to talk about generational wealth and doing all these things, man, but I think there's mechanisms in place to stifle that or throttle that level of progression. I'm not saying you can't make it, but trying to make it there in one shot and try to be your own form of you know, General Motors, for instance. You know, it's a lot of hands in that pot that don't want to see nobody else take pieces of that pie. So I think that it's a dicey game to play, especially when you're a scientist. So you know, I'm wishing this young man the best. It's great advice. And I would just also throw out there that you know, you got to play this game right, man. When you're dealing with all this lawyer stuff and large corporation, you don't know what angle this could take. But sound advice and something I never thought of, bro. But what are your thoughts, man, on this young man, Julian Brown, making fuel out of plastic, all right, and saying that, hey, man, it's not a good idea to get your stuff patented? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, and I'd never thought of it that way either. But when posited the way that he did, it seems like it makes sense, just from the standpoint of you not being in a position of leverage,
right,
given who the big players are in their financial leverage and how that ultimately is like the deciding factor. And this reminded me of, did you ever see the movie The Founder? It was a movie with Michael Keaton. Basically tells the story of Ray Kroc and how he came to be, you know, essentially the overlord of McDonald's. And it isn't exactly a apples to apples comparison because that movie wasn't necessarily about patents, but there are some similarities because basically what ended up happening was the two brothers who created McDonald's, this guy Ray Kroc was trying to get them to evolve their products. He wanted them to serve this and do this differently and do that differently and to kind of expand things. And they were very stuck in their ways. The people who, the actual McDonald's family itself, they didn't want to do any of that stuff. They didn't want to entertain any of Ray Kroc's ideas, but Ray Kroc had partnered with them on the McDonald's business. And so ultimately what Ray Kroc ended up doing was he partnered with this guy, and I forget the guy's name, but the guy was advising him on how to handle the situation. And the dude basically told him, you're in the real estate business, not the food service business. So if you buy the land that their McDonald's is on, you can essentially dictate what happens with them because you own the land. And so what Ray Kroc ended up doing was buying up land and then building his own McDonald's. And when the brothers were like, We'll take you to court. We'll do all of this kind of stuff. Ray Kroc was like, listen, you can do that if you want, but I have more money and resources than you. So at the end of the day, you'll succumb to whatever it is that I want, because you don't have the resources and the finances to continuously go at me in court all the time. Because I'm making money off of these stores and I'm making money off of the land. He basically started the whole franchising thing, because he buy the land and then he would lease these McDonald's to other franchisees who would run those individual McDonald's, but then he'd be making money off the land and the store. So after a while, the McDonald's brothers ended up signing over the rest of it to him, because he had all of this leverage financially and they couldn't do anything about it because of this move that he made strategically to go the route of owning the land and doing it the real estate way. So it reminded me of that, because the McDonald's brothers felt like they had it sold up. It's our name. We created it. How could this possibly happen? And no, it could happen anyway, where you kind of had it taken away from you. Now, there's probably little details here and there that I got wrong with the history, but that's pretty much the gist of how it happened. You know, and so, you know, that's what this reminded me of, from the standpoint of like, yeah, I might be the one who invented it, and yeah, I can get a patent out, but what am I going to be able to do when I got GE or General Motors staring down the barrel of whatever it is that I have going on in court, and they got billions of dollars and I don't? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, whatever he can do to best protect his individual interests in this ecosystem, you know, God be with him, because you are certainly going up against greater forces that work out.
Yeah, man.
And you know, the only other thing that I'll say is, you know, I don't know too much about this pyrolysis. Yeah, ever since you showed this to me, I've been doing a little bit of research here and there just to kind of learn what that is. But just based on the description alone, this kid came up with a machine that converts wasted plastic waste into fuel. The sound of that alone tells me that you're infringing on the market share of other areas. Yeah. And so he better make sure that he's got some security. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
You better make sure that you have some security, sir, because you know, they are trying to find a few scientists right now that have mysteriously gone missing.
Yes.
And if you infringe on too much territory, you don't want to be the next one, sir. So I hope you got your wits about you on that front as well.
Yeah, man. You know, who knew being a scientist would be like being a rapper? It's like one of the most dangerous professions to have, bro. You can't be out here trying to make the world better. What's wrong with you, bro? Ain't that crazy, man? So, yeah, bro. Like, as soon as I find a product that's clean, you know, non-GMO, they use real they use real stuff, or as real as we can get. You know what I'm saying? It's a clean product. We enjoy it. Life is great. Then all of a sudden, you hear they got bought out by a larger company.
Yeah, they sold it. Yeah.
Yep, they sold it. And then after they sold it, here comes the bioengineered food product. Here comes the high fructose corn syrup. You know, the natural flavors. Hey, man, this tastes like crap now. What the hell happened? And then you look it up. They just recently got bought out. You know, so that's that. Unfortunately, because when you actually come out with a good product, and this is what I pretty much got the model from. Of I see what these people are doing. You come out with a good product that contends with the machine.
Yeah.
The machine notices it. They look at your business model. They look at what you got going on, and basically they look, hey, this is pretty good. You're not gonna threaten us as far as you're a small little thing, but at the same time, we don't like that. We don't need a market of this other people. So let's just go ahead and buy. And you're already self-sustaining. You're already showing year over year you're making profit. So we're going to make money off this too. So it's like a win-win-win-win for these corporations whenever they do these little buyouts. And then So you had a clean product. Now all of a sudden it's garbage. You know what I'm saying? Or just a bump better than the real garbage in the stores. You know, but eventually through new formulas, through this and that, it's gonna be absolute trash. And but you know, it sucks. But if you're a person that has the sauce to turn plastic into fuel, you got a brilliant mind. And you after you sell that or you do whatever, or whatever, I'm not telling this young man what to do. You know, oh, you hate to let that man make. I'm not telling him what to do. All I'm saying is, if you got the sauce to come out with a brilliant soft drink, you know, the streets love, it got bought and compromised by a large corporation. That sauce that you got, that talent that you have, you can just make something else, sell and flip that for hundreds of millions of dollars, and you get generational wealth that way. But trying to put yourself up there with General Motors, I'm gonna be up there. It's a small club up there.
Yeah.
So, and they want that pie for themselves. So I think that's the methodology. You know, I ain't come out with nothing yet, but that's my approach. Like, I'm really not trying to save the world with that. If y'all want it, y'all got it, bro. Just give me a good little payout. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a little residual, you know, recurrent check every now and then, and it's yours. I got the salt. I can make other stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best approach instead of sitting on as market secrets. I got market secrets. Okay, bro. Well, my Prego machine gonna listen to those market secrets, bro.
Yeah. I mean, eventually they're gonna come for you anyway. Like Google eventually came for YouTube, and they got them. You know, Zuckerberg, he came for Instagram, he got them. If your thing is saucy enough, they're eventually going to come to you.
Yep.
And it doesn't give me any pleasure in saying this, but I do believe it to be true. It's in your best interest to just play ball and sell it. Yeah. I'll say that straight up, because I agree. I think the name of the game is to be known, because he'll still have the notoriety. He'll still be known as the person who developed it initially and whatnot. But you know, beyond that, the continued hands-on, to continue to have your hands on it, what's that worth to you? I would say sell it, come off of it, move on to the next project. The idea isn't necessarily to be known as the hands-on person who ran this for an extended period of time, and that's your legacy, but rather to be someone else who was able to secure generational wealth for the rest of your bloodline until the end of time. Like, that's the name of the game, and all of that other stuff is just, all of that other stuff can just fall by the wayside, in my opinion, because the game is rigged now. It's rigged. It's set up to not allow disruptors into the marketplace. There's no way they won't allow it. The only way that a disruptor can continue to remain in any marketplace is if they are content with remaining small. But if you have any aspirations on becoming big, they're not going to allow you to continue to be a disruptor. They're not. They're not. And the vast majority of these industry sectors have a cabal that is firmly in place, and there's no room for newcomers. Like, that's it. It's just, there's no room for newcomers. So just move on to the next thing and be done with it. And nothing that gets sold stays as good. I mean, George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, and Star Wars has been a shell of itself ever since. So we don't even have to be talking about hard inventions. We can be talking about intellectual properties. The second that a person who created it sells it to somebody else, it becomes a cheapened, bastardized version of itself.
Disgusting.
So just understand that that's the name of the game.
Yeah, and it sucks. Last thing I'll say, it sucks, like, because especially for things like this that would be possibly humanity changing, you know. Yeah, I'm not telling him to sell it to you know, BP, you know, because who knows what they're going to do with it. It might not be humanity saving anymore. I get all of that stuff. He's in a tough spot, so I'm not telling him what to do. But you know, you just got to understand the room and read the room is all I'm saying. So, you know, I'm wishing this young man the best. I hope he, you know, keeps crushing it out here, because I seen his videos last year, you know, and stuff like that, where he was doing his little demonstrations and stuff. So I'm wishing this young man the best. I'm not trying to speak ill will on him or anything he got going on. it's just a natural concern. That's like, hey man, I hope you're handling this correctly, man. But I'm wishing him the best with all of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm concerned for his actual safety. So hopefully that also remains intact. Because there are people who are mysteriously vanishing these days. So
that's crazy, bro. Like it done made it all the way to the White House now. They pressing the White House about it now.
That's what I'm saying. Got Orange Man saying we're gonna find out where they went. So.
Yeah, okay, bro. Hey, and shout out to Earn Your Leisure. That's the name of the channel that we got that from, man. So I don't want to leave those guys out. So shouts out to them.
And now we have Tyrese Halliburton, who was on an episode of It Is What It Is. He was getting interviewed by Cameron, and Cameron asked him about the flack that he gets for routinely being associated with white women. So now I'm very well aware of this. I've followed Tyrese Halliburton for a while, and that is a real thing. There have been a couple of posts and things that have happened throughout the past where he's with women who aren't black, and you know how that is. Troll world just goes insane or crazy whenever it comes to stuff like that, where you have this perceived high value black man who's not with a black woman. Internet black world goes crazy, and he has been getting that flack for a long time. For anyone who is unaware, Tyrese Halliburton is engaged to be married. And the woman that he is engaged to, he's been with since he was in college. I'm pretty sure I got that right. And she's not black, so he's gonna have to wear that for the rest of his life because people just don't let it go. They just don't. They refuse to let this stuff go for people. But he got asked about this by Cameron, where Cameron was like, "How does it make you feel to always have to deal with that?" And Tyrese Halliburton was basically like, "I don't really know what to do because these are the people that I kind of grew up around. So it's not like I went associated with them like that. It's just that was my environment." But this says Cameron questions Tyrese Halliburton about being seen only with white women. Cameron wasted no time getting Tyrese Halliburton to address the perception that he only surrounds himself with white women. Halliburton told Cam on the latest episode of It Is What It Is that he and his fiancee Jade Jones grew up in areas of the country that were predominantly white. The Indiana Pacers star explained that the viral video of the white woman who stepped out a vehicle before him and walked into a party celebrating the U.S. men's basketball team's Olympic gold medal were Jones's friends. Halliburton announced his engagement to Jones in an Instagram post in July 2025. Let's see. According to People, Halliburton and Jones started dating in 2019 when they were attending Iowa State. Halliburton played for the Cyclones men's basketball team, and Jones was a cheerleader at the university. When Halliburton got down on one knee on the court at Iowa State University's Hilton Coliseum, he proposed just over a month removed from suffering an Achilles injury in the NBA Finals, which is why he's wearing a boot in the photo. So we'll go ahead and stop showing this, and we'll play a clip from It Is What It Is, where he's speaking on this. So let me get this pulled up here. And let me stop that. And boom, boom. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, so here's that snippet from the interview where they touch on this subject.
When people be like, he only be with white girls. He never be with nobody.
That don't bother me because
right.
you gotta think like my fiance. She's a white girl, you know what I mean?
Right.
So she's from.
We see you hopping out of like
dog. But the problem here, I'm from Wisconsin. Right. I grew up around all white people. You know what I mean? Okay. My girl is from Iowa. She grew up around all white people. Right. You know what I mean? So all like that video where you see me hop out the car with a bunch of white girls, it's like her sister and all her friends from growing up.
Got you.
So people killing me. I'm like, these are just our people from growing up. You know?
Exactly. How did you feel?
All right,
how do you feel when people?
There you go. So, he's from Wisconsin. That's his girl's sister and all their friends, and so on and so forth. So yeah, like I said, man, Halliburton does catch this a lot. I think it was last year. There was another thing that this was with the Pacers. There was a post or something that the Pacers put out on Instagram, where all of the players are going somewhere with their significant others, and like the majority of the players on the team had white wives or girlfriends, and so of course the comment section is just tearing these guys apart, like just going in on them, you know. So but I'll let you go ahead and what did you think about Mr. Halliburton and his explanation when asked that question by Cam?
You know, it seemed pretty, you know, honest and genuine. It didn't seem like he was fazed by it. So that's a good thing. You know, it doesn't seem to bother him. So you know, he laughed it off, and his explanation made sense. You know, I first seen, I don't know when it was sometime on TikTok. And, you know, people on TikTok, they'll take an intriguing clip and then make an edit out of it. So one of the clips that I saw was him like in the kitchen with like four clones. It was the same looking white girl. It was all the same looking. I'm like, what's going on here? He's having a good old time in the kitchen with them, you know, doing some type of TikTok dance or something, you know, and it just looked like a real interesting situation. So it was like, dang, brothers, he's living the dream apparently. So, you know, I saw that and I was like, okay, bro, you know, bro has his thing, but you know, you also gotta keep in mind, at least for this young man, you know, his mama's white. So, you know, when your primary caretaker, your primary caregiver, you know, is white, you know, it's like, what's the big deal here? You know what I'm saying? This is part of his family. You know, this is not like anything strange going on. This is just what it is. This is what he saw growing up. You know, his dad did it. His mom was cool as hell. You know, so he's not seeing any problem with it. And so yeah, man. So he seemed to internalize it in a cool way, you know, water right off his back. So it's not like he's bothered by it or anything. It's interesting that Cameron asked that as a leading question to the interview, but I mean, we're dealing with Cameron here.
Oh, that was the leading question.
I think so. I think that was how he just got right into it. How you feel about that, bro? You always pulling up with your white women, and you know the clip in an article. You know, I guess it was like another TikTok video, whatever, where he was getting out of the vehicle, whatever, and it's just a procession of white women, the same type of clone little situation that I was just describing in the kitchen, and it just looks like he's living that life, you know, perceivably that, you know, he's just you know, Wilt Chamberlain out here, you know what I'm saying? he's just living that type of lifestyle. But hey, man, you know, he seems to be a one woman man apparently, or whatever, and that's his right. That's what he want to do. That's how he want to live. And you know, I think that used to be a tree I barked up a lot. You know, it's like, oh, come on, man, why you doing that? Why you know, keep the generational wealth in the family? You know, I was doing all of that stuff, but you know, life goes on. You see how things go. You see how people are. You see what people are doing, and then you also realize, well, it doesn't affect me at all. And so long as those people are happy, then I'm okay with it. And like I always say, whenever we're dealing with like an interracial situation or intercultural situation, so long as you're not doing it for fetish reasons, I'm okay with it. You know, if y'all two solid people and y'all doing it for the right reasons because y'all love each other and y'all on the same page when it comes to stuff, I don't have a problem with that. But if it's like some type of weird RG3 going on, where you're just, you know, talking about your white milk all the time, then it's just like, all right, bro, like you're fetishizing this, therefore you're making it weird, you know. But if it's all in all love and everybody happy, then who am I to say that they shouldn't be together? So he seems to be happy with it, so I'm not gonna rain on his parade. But what are your thoughts, man, on Tyrese Halliburton catching flack for his interracial relationship, apparently interracial, and then Cameron asking him about it? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, I don't mind Cameron asking him, because that's what, you know, Cam Cam is gonna do what Cam does. I ain't tripping off that. I'm pretty sure Cam has had his fair share of non-black women in his I'm not tripping off that. You know, I'm the wrong person to ask this question to. I get very tired of this, and I really do wish that the internet, well, no, it's people too, because people do this stuff in person. And I really do wish that people would just leave these guys alone. Like, why does it bother you that much? Like, and I know the answer to that question, but still, why does it bother you that much? And like, unless, and you brought up RG3, I was gonna reference that. Unless it appears as though like this is some sort of a weird, like cathartic type of let me get my rocks off, because like, in addition to sometimes it seeming like it's a bit of a fetish type deal, I also get the impression from RG3 that he does that stuff. Here's my psychological analysis of people like RG3. I think RG3, and again, I'm getting into his head. Do I know this for a fact? No, but it's my speculation. So in my opinion, people like RG3, the reason why they do that, at least in some small part, is because they're so tired of dealing with the peanut gallery that they go to the other extreme and they kind of flaunt their interracial relationship just to get a reaction out of people and piss them off. Like, I get a feeling that that's RG3's game with some of his antics, is that he's so over having to answer to the fact that he chose to marry who he chose to marry, and the fact that people don't like it. He's so over that now it's sort of spilled over to him being just straight up annoyed by it, agitated. And he's so agitated that now he's going to rub it in your face on purpose because he knows how upset it makes you. And my whole thing with that is, bro, why are you concerning yourself with how they feel about what you got going on anyway? Who cares? Like, ignore that stuff. Do your thing, bro. So, aside from people like RG3 who do stuff on purpose, if it's a guy who's not bothering nobody and doesn't give off that kind of weird energy, I really do feel like we need to leave these guys alone. Like, enough is enough with this stuff. And again, bro, he echoed it in that interview, and I completely 100% agree. And we don't take this into account enough whenever we have these conversations, because what the community likes to do is make it seem as though these guys are making these calculated decisions to spite black women or to spite the community. Like, they make it seem like Tyrese Halliburton made the decision to be with this girl just to spite the community or to spite black women. He ain't thinking about y'all. He don't give a damn about y'all. This guy grew up in Wisconsin. Do you want to know the racial breakdown in Wisconsin? Like, it is what it is. Oftentimes, a lot of our preferences, the way that we formulate them, has a lot to do with environment and proximity. Regardless of how you grew up, environment has a lot to do with that kind of stuff. Immediate physical environment and proximity. What do you expect a black kid who grew up in Wisconsin to do? The likelihood is he is going to probably be more into the idea of dating a woman who's not black than a black kid who grows up in Detroit or any other inner city. Like, proximity plays a heavy factor in this stuff. It just does. So if you want to make the argument that despite immediate physical environment and despite proximity, black men should still whatever, then fine, we can have that conversation if you want. I would disagree with that because I think physical environment and proximity are powerful indicators of future behavior. But still, if you want to contextualize your viewpoint along those lines, I'm willing to at least entertain that conversation, even though I'm going to disagree. But to just blanketly make it seem like these guys are out here purposefully just doing stuff to spite y'all, no one's thinking about y'all. They're not. He ain't thinking about y'all when these guys aren't thinking about black women when they dating white girls. They're not. Some of them may be, but most of them I don't think are. It's just physical environment. Like, even a lot of these guys who grew up in the same neighborhoods, if they've been playing basketball since elementary school or middle school and getting bused to private schools outside of their neighborhood, or getting bused to charter schools, or they're doing AAU or all of these other things that most kids in these inner city neighborhoods aren't going to get to experience because they don't have those talents to take them there, you're physically putting yourself in different environments that are going to expose you to different experiences. The likelihood that you end up dating outside of your race as a result of that naturally goes up. So it's just physical environment, bro. It's proximity. I remember LeBron when Bronny was still in high school, and Bronny was going to the prom, and he went to the prom with a white girl, and people got mad at this 18-year-old boy as if he's sitting around on purpose trying to spite black women everywhere. You literally had grown-ass women in their 30s, 40s, hell, maybe even 50s and 60s, who were sisters, who were sitting there going at this 18-year-old boy. He ain't thinking about y'all. This kid is growing up in a rich, affluent neighborhood in Los Angeles, California, going to a high school that probably has 2% black people in it. Growing up in a neighborhood where he's probably the only black family on the block. I don't know LeBron's neighborhood like that, but I'm pretty sure it's less than 5% black people in that neighborhood. Like, what do you want them to do? Make sure that the boy's hooking up with the other 5% of the black girls who might be in there? Like, come on, what are we doing here? So, I get annoyed by this stuff. And look, that's not to take away from the people who are bad faith actors in this environment, because you do have them out there, and we do have to call that out. So if there are either men or black women or black men, I don't give a damn, because black women do this stuff too. Not as often as black men, but they do it too. But if you have those of us who are doing stuff on purpose or out of spite, or just to kind of rub it in other people's face, like, we got to call that kind of stuff out. Any sort of fetish activity going on, I feel you on that. But generally speaking, most people in the world are reasonable people. And a lot of this stuff really does boil down to physical environment and proximity. All of it does. Like, the vast majority of it just does. And in my opinion, it's wasted energy to sit there lamenting that, when if you are secure in what you have going on, who cares? Like, what are we really doing here, bro? Like, I would still contend a lot of this stuff is just hysteria over nothing. I really do believe that. Like, I think if you go to a public venue, whether it's the mall or a music show, you go to a concert, you go to a movie theater, go to any public venue where there's a large population of people there at the same time. If you point out 10 black men who are at that public venue with their significant other, at least 8 of those black men are going to be with black women. At least. Like, this to me is just hysterical. But because of your preconceived bias towards the existence of this, whenever you do see the 2 out of 10 that don't match up, you get outraged by it. And then you start to believe in your mind that this is something that's occurring on this grand level, when really it's not. It's not really happening in mass like that. But the internet will have you believe it is, I guess, because if all you're paying attention to is what NBA players are doing, then I guess it can cause you to develop your own myopic sense of how this situation is actually playing out. But I just kind of feel like we need to leave these guys alone, bro. We've been like, what are we doing here, bro? Like, unless this is weird RG3 type stuff, what do you want this guy to do? Like, leave people alone. Like, are you in an all-black household? If so, great. Be the example for others that you want him to be for others. Like, what are we doing here, bro? Like, who cares, man? Like, en masse, it's not really happening on that level like that, even though the internet would say otherwise. Like, this is one of those things that really kind of bothers me, because like, we really do make it a point to dig into these dudes on a personal level and just attack their character 24/7 just because of who they sleep with and who they chose to marry. Like, who gives a rip? And again, bro, like, is he really stepping outside of his community when that is his community? His mother's white.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Go don't know what you want this guy to do. Like, this stuff is crazy to me. Not to mention the fact that it's completely one-sided, because when a black woman does it, no one says anything. Like Serena Williams gets married to a white dude, no one says anything. Tika Sumter married to a white dude, crickets. I don't hear the same energy afforded when it happens with black women. Now, I know the reason why, but that's not the point of this video. The point is, leave people alone and let them live their lives.
Yeah, it well said, bro. I'm in the, because again, bro, I was in that boat, bro. You know, speaking of Dave Chappelle, bro, I was conspiracy, brother. You know, everything was, see, the reason why they doing it like that is, you know, that was me, man. So I come from that stock. Okay, but I also had to grow up, man, in the sense that, because I had a conversation with somebody that was mixed, and I'm sitting here talking all this stuff, man. He's mixed, man. He's like, hey, man, my mama's white, bro. And I'm sitting here having this conversation with him, just, you know, going to town. He's like, man, my mama's white, bro. And he's a cool dude, man. And it's like, hey, man, maybe I should slow down. It was him. He was a one person. And like I told you before in another conversation, man, I have conversations with people, debates or whatever, for me to sharpen myself, because I could be in an echo chamber. And so when he called me out about that, or he just made that statement, but basically saying, bro, slow down with all of that stuff, bro. Like, the woman I love the most is like that. So what are you getting at? So I had to realize that there's real people that's dealing with this stuff. There's real situations here. And that's why I came up with the idea of, all right, bro, I'm not going to sit here and from, you know, some pillar and start hollering at people because that's what they decide to do with their life. You know, I said, you know what? If that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And that's why I came up with the principle. So I came up with my own parameters of, okay, I think y'all doing that the wrong way. I think y'all doing that for the wrong reasons. Much like how there's people that's within the race are doing things for the wrong reason. But it's just like, y'all doing that for the wrong reason, man. Like, this look weird, you know? So it don't have to be the RG3 thing. It don't have to be, it could be some other stuff, which is making these people make these decisions, you know? And because when I say make these decisions, like you said, oh, doing it out of spite or whatever, like, you know, or whatever. It's like some people, like the whole divesting people, like there's content online where people, I'm divesting from black women.
Well, yeah, that would be the kind of toxicity. Yeah, we need to call that kind of stuff out.
Yeah, that stuff. And then they're getting out here and then they're doing, you know, and the women are doing their own version of it. Well, I'm divesting from black. I was like, well, this isn't helping anybody, because what you're doing is you're being an extremist, and now you're just going over there just cause, or you're just doing anything just cause. And I don't think you should do anything just cause. So this also ties into, hey, I want to make sure you're sleeping good at night. And if you're hooked up with somebody that doesn't understand you culturally and all this other stuff, you know, and I think I brought this up before a long time ago when I was talking about this before, but you know, I think it was the first time Orange Man was running for election. It was this viral video with this black woman. Yeah, this black woman sitting here saying, hey, why would you do this? Why would you do that? And a white man just going crazy. He going crazy on her. They both was doing it for the wrong reasons. Y'all wouldn't have been going that crazy in that moment had y'all been on the same page culturally, you know, spiritually or whatever. Like, you're still in companionship with somebody, so y'all got to be on the same page. I've seen interracial couples, and they've grown old together. They old as hell. You know, there's a lot of that going on in Texas. You know, just interracial stuff. It's just what's going on. And, you know, I've seen older couples and they just doing their thing, man. They in there shopping, helping each other. And I'm like, well, who's mad at this? You know, who's mad at that? You know, they seem to be on the same page and on one accord. So I'm not here to judge that. I do judge the toxic stuff, as you mentioned. I like the label there. I personally think some of these reasons why people do stuff is toxic. So that's what I call out. So to flip it back and bring it back home to Tyrese Halliburton, he seems to be having a hell of a time. So who am I to say that, hey man, you need to bring it home, man? And yeah, this is what he's doing, man. And honestly, he is home. Because again, like I said, man, his mom was like that. So who am I to say? You don't grow up in that context. You don't grow up in that situation. You don't see that every day. You know what I'm saying? You hungry as hell. And the first person that popped in that room when you crying is a woman that looks like his mama. And there's a bond and a connection there that you can't just say there through some Afrocentric textbook stuff. So, you know, you got to also put people's life equation in the mix. And that's why I had to grow up and expand, you know, and then have a more open mind towards these things. But I used to be a part of the gallery, bro. Front row throwing peanuts. I swear I was.
Yeah.
But now I done moved past it, man. There's bigger fish to fry in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel a level of empathy for Black men who have to deal with this, because they're not doing anything to you on purpose. That's just like, there are so many different aspects of human psychology that go into how one formulates their dating preferences that you're not considering when you just blanketly want to like attack a man's personality or character or right to do anything because he's not with the person with the same level of melanin, with the same melanin in their skin that you want them to have. Like, there's a lot that goes into this kind of stuff, and I don't think we do enough due diligence to properly contextualize these conversations. We look at it from a bottom line standpoint of, he's not with Black woman, he's automatically by default doing wrong. And, you know, I hear what you're saying with like being on the same page in terms of culture and values and all of that kind of stuff. I agree. So like you and I aren't saying much different in terms of the extenuating circumstances that go into why something makes sense. But at the same time, at least in my opinion, I do believe that unless you're raising a child and really like sitting down with them and on a daily basis, you're hitting them with history of your family lineage, and this went on at this point and this happened then, and your great grandfather was doing this, and hundreds of years ago our people descended from this. And if you're not having those kind of conversations and you're just raising your kid the way most other people raise their kid, and you're sending them off to school and you're sending them out to hang out with their friends and you're signing them up to play baseball or basketball or whatever, that's the way most people raise their kids, bro. And when you're doing that, at that point, physical environment and economic standing and socioeconomic standing and your immediate surroundings, that becomes part of what your culture is.
I agree, yeah.
So when you're your immediate physical environment and your proximity to certain things is going to dictate how you formulate a lot of these things for yourself. Mm-hmm. So the Black kid who grows up in Brentwood in Los Angeles is more quote unquote white than he is Black. And I'm speaking from a cultural standpoint, not actually from an ethnic standpoint. Because that's how other people would say. Other people would say that he's more white than Black. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But that's a lot of this stuff is that. And we don't take that stuff into account. We really just look at it as he's doing this. Oh, he's doing wrong. You don't know what that guy's experience is. Mm-hmm. You don't know what, and like, just to kind of extrapolate it from professional athletes, regular everyday guys, I worked around it. I saw it all the time, right? I worked in a restaurant for over 10 years. I see a Black guy, maybe he had a white girlfriend or whatever, a Hispanic girlfriend, and the Black girls would just heckle him constantly. I dealt with that at times. Like they would just heckle me every day. Like I literally could not just come to work and do my job in peace. Mm-hmm. I came to work every day and dealt with some form of getting heckled and called out for this stuff. Mm-hmm. And just to remove myself from it, if it was any other guy who dealt with it, I used to be looking at them like, y'all talking about him as if y'all know his life story. Mm-hmm. Like y'all talk about him as if you know where he came up, where he grew up, who raised him. Y'all act like y'all know this information and y'all have the requisite, edification needed to just go and just blast this guy's character every day the way y'all do. So, this kind of stuff just kind of gets on my nerves, if I'm being perfectly honest, because again, I'm not trying to sit here and say it's the right thing to do is to do things interracially. What I'm saying is there are environmental extenuating circumstances that have a lot to do with how all of us go about doing this stuff. All right. I grew up in Miami. I was born here. I was raised here. I left for a while and now I came back here. Do you know what it means? Because I grew up in Miami, there is a higher likelihood that I might date a Hispanic girl. I grew up in a mostly Hispanic neighborhood. I went to middle school and elementary school and high school where it was like 65% Hispanic and then the rest of it was black and maybe 2% other. That is my immediate frame of reference. Don't get caught off guard if I have a Hispanic girlfriend. That was my immediate physical environment. I'm not doing anything on purpose. I'm not doing anything to spite you. I'm not doing anything to go at you or to say that what you're doing is wrong or anything like that. I'm not putting out no weird energy. I'm just trying to live my life as best I can.
Right.
So I think we need to get off people's backs, bro, because it's too much, man. And everybody who is abjectly miserable with their own lives can project their misery by grabbing their phone and bitching and complaining about stuff. When really, I would bet you don't even have your own house in order.
Oh, for sure. Hey, man, well said, bro. So, yeah, man. So, hey, shout out to Tyrese Halliburton, man. He's doing his thing, I guess. Sucks that because he hasn't played at all this year. So, hopefully, speedy recovery for the young man. But yeah, man, I agree with you, bro. It's a lot more nuanced than people let on, like how it's immediately like drop of a dime, how people react to it. But yeah, man, you gotta experience life, you gotta talk to people, you gotta move around, you gotta see what's going on for you to get a bigger picture of stuff. So there's some real cool people out there, and they live interracially. And that's not taking away the fact that they're cool people. So, there's people out there that's being weirdos, and there's, interracially, and there's people out there weirdos with the same race. So, weirdos need to be called out, and people that's just chilling and just trying to do their thing, man, just let them chill and do their thing. But hey, man, I'm just me, man. Just me.
Hey, shouts out to Tyrese Halliburton, man. Best wishes on a speedy recovery. I hope you come back better than ever next year, brother. And I really hope that your marriage doesn't go the route of Dak Prescott, because we are going to have to reevaluate this entire segment.
Hey, man, listen, bro. I told you, man, Dak dodges a bullet, bro.
He did. Yeah,
that girl looked like Lou Ferrigno. So, hey, bro, like Tyrese Halliburton, hey, man, he got that Dawson's Creek stuff going on, man. So shout out to Tyrese Halliburton, bro. Hell no. It's crazy.
Last but not least, we get into Mary J. Blige, who is expressing she still harbors a lot of strong feelings toward a Burger King ad that she was in way back in 2012 that was not very well received. It was perceived to be, playing on Black racial stereotypes. And she apparently took a lot of flack for this all those years ago. Personally, I don't even remember seeing this ad. I have no recollection of the existence of this ad. But this ad came out. She was going to be a spokesperson for Burger King, and things went left because people really did interpret it as racially stereotypical. And she took a lot of heat as a result for participating. And now all these years later, she is talking about, well, she didn't come up with it on her own. She was asked this question in an interview. But in this interview, she talks about how she still has bad feelings about that experience. and all the things that happened as a result of that bad experience, you know, she still looks at it as not a laughing matter, as not funny, and she doesn't play about it because it's something that kind of still sticks in her craw to this day. So this says, Mary J. Blige says infamous 2012 Burger King ad is not a laughing matter. More than a decade after one of the most criticized celebrity ads of the early 2010s, Mary J. Blige says the fallout from her short-lived Burger King commercial still feels deeply personal. During an appearance on Scott Evans' podcast Guest House, released April 17th, the R&B icon revisited the 2012 campaign and made clear that time has not changed how she views it. Blige was featured in a Burger King commercial promoting the chain's chicken snack wraps, singing a jingle about the product and what was intended to be a stylized dream sequence. Instead, the spot immediately sparked outrage after viewers accused the commercial of leaning into racial stereotypes. Burger King pulled the ad within days, initially citing licensing issues, then later acknowledging that the commercial had been released before final approval was received. Now, Blige says the version that aired was never supposed to be seen by the public. She said the campaign she originally agreed to was far different from what viewers ultimately saw. The singer also pushed back on the idea that enough time has passed for the incident to become a joke or meme. When Evans asked whether she could laugh about the commercial now, Blige answered bluntly, "No, it's still not a laughing matter to me." She added that the backlash affected her far beyond the headlines, especially because many of her longtime fans were confused by what had happened. She also revealed that the experience exposed problems behind the scenes, pointing to bad representation, bad management, bad everything. According to Blige, the controversy changed the way she views the entertainment industry and the people around her. She said some of the friends and associates who had been close to her disappeared over the criticism once the criticism intensified. Damn. Blige, however, said the experience ultimately pushed her toward building a broader business empire, including film projects with Lifetime and a stronger focus on creating opportunities on her own terms. Well, at least she didn't jump on OnlyFans.
Yeah, well, not yet, at least.
Right. So here's a clip from that interview with we're gonna play this. So here is the clip from that interview where Mary J. Blige is talking about how even to this day this is nothing to joke about, and how much it affected her.
Where you can yet laugh about that Burger King commercial?
No, I'm not, because I would never laugh at that, because my true, honest to true fans did not think that shit was funny.
Yeah.
The whole way that shit went down was wrong. The whole way they shot it was wrong. It was set up to make exactly what happened in the press happen like that.
You really feel that way?
Yep. And so it's still not a laughing matter to me.
Yeah.
You know, because I was deeply, deeply affected. Now, I learned a lot from it.
Yeah.
But it's not something I'm like, no, it's not fucking funny. But laugh, you motherfuckers, if you want. Still, I don't care.
I hear that.
But the bottom line is, my fans were confused. The real true fans, not the people that whatever.
Dip in and dip out.
Yes, but the people who was like, what's going on? And I didn't really know what was going on.
Right.
But I had bad representation, bad management, bad everything, and everybody dropped the ball, and I'm holding everything.
Yeah.
That was a learning curve, but it's still not funny.
I'm glad that you're open to this, because I think that people think or have a feeling that because it has been some time, right? Because you see people like doing renditions of the song online. You see people now having a totally different, in some ways, having a totally different perspective on that, as it's just content. But that's your life.
That doesn't feel good still.
Wow.
But I learned from it though. It doesn't feel good because I was getting clobbered for no fucking reason. But it did show me something. 1 minute people are with you, and 1 minute they are not. It showed me just how fickle the game is, and it showed me exactly who my friends were.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of my so-called friends are not around anymore.
No way. Because of that?
I was like a disease to people. And nobody wanted to be affiliated. So the people this is where I learned I go where I'm celebrated at, because they would treat me like I was a disease or something.
Yeah.
So I said, I know how to do this. Thank you, Lord, for the lesson. Thank you for getting me through it. Now I know how people get down.
Yeah.
And that was the blessing in the whole thing. Just learning how fucked up and fickle people are. And one day with you know, when you hot, the minute some shit happens that you can't even explain, they gone.
I'm glad to know that, because you know sometimes you have this. You.
All right, so that's the point. We get the point. So I do want to play the ad itself, though.
Let's all right. Hey, let's do it. I'm warning you now. I don't know what that does.
But yeah, I was wondering about it too. If it's like any sort of issue.
I mean, it's an ad. It's an old ad.
It is. We've played ads before here with no issue, and they did have the embed of the ad in that article, in that Complex article. Yeah, so I'm gonna take the gamble. We're gonna play it because it was short lived, you know, and so I don't know. I don't remember this, and if I don't remember it, I'm pretty sure a lot of our audience probably also doesn't recall this. Well, don't recall this because I really don't remember this. But here is said ad that got Mary J. Blige, you know, clobbered for no reason, you know, with this Burger King.
Crispy chicken, fresh lettuce, 3 cheeses, fresh dressing wrapped up in the tasty flour tortilla. Crispy chicken.
Snack wraps. Get it.
There you go.
Hey, man, I've seen words, bro. I've seen words, bro. I don't know what's going on.
All right, so what do you think about that, man?
I don't know what's going on. I don't know how her life is in shambles because of that. I mean, but hey, you know, it's her fans. So it was feedback from her fans. So I think that's what really did it for her. I'm pretty sure she didn't see a problem with it, you know, which is why she did it. You know, she can blame management, she can blame all these other people, but I'm pretty sure she was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? There's at the time, because you said 2012, 2013, whatever that was. So, I mean, hell, at the time, that was at the height of McDonald's doing this jigaboo commercials. So, hey, where you going, brother? Hey, I'm getting me a, you know what I'm saying, a extra sauce, lettuce, cheese. You know what I'm saying? You know, so that was that era. You know, you play it on the radio, you know, so you hear it on 99 Jams, you know, whatever the beat channel was, 103.5, whatever it was. Like you hear it on that. Hell, you hear it on what's the damn? I forgot all the damn channels. Hot 105. Hot 105. Yeah,
Power 96.
Yeah, you know, Hot 105 during Tom Joyner in the morning or whatever. So yeah, man, like I'm pretty sure that it was in that wave and in that era where it was just like general thing. It was a check to be made. You know, I'm pretty sure she thought it was no big deal. I think it became a big deal, and it's kind of like in the verbiage what she was saying. It was like, it's not funny to me because my fans didn't think that was funny. So in that statement, to me, I took that as I wasn't offended until they got offended, which now offends me. So, because yeah, I think Mary J, she's one of those people that do have hardcore fans that's been following her since the early 90s or whatever, and you know, they you know, they're entrenched. They who they are, you know, and you know, they're a type of way. And one thing about it is, yeah, man, that was some real. I mean, if you told me that was a deleted clip from Chappelle show, I would have believed you. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? Crispy chicken. You know what I'm saying? Crispy chicken. The only thing it was missing was the watermelon slushy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's all that commercial was missing. And she didn't care. It was just a check to her. So, yeah, me personally, I would be lying if I said I remember it, but I can also kind of say that I kind of want to say I've heard the song before. You know, I want to say I've heard the ad on the radio at least, like, but I don't remember the commercial, like seeing it visually. But hey, you know, people saw it. It was probably airing on BET, and they probably felt insulted. Yeah, man, they was probably trying to watch whatever they're trying to watch, and they're like, "What's my girl doing up there, in blackface?" Because honestly, she hasn't done anything like that in her career for the most part, leading up to that point or after. I didn't even know she did it. That's how much she's not like that for the most part, you know. So she'll play a gangster woman in a power show or whatever, but you know, that's a different type of minstrel. You know, she never did the "Hey boss, how you doing" thing until that. So the fans saw it, they didn't like it, and called her out for it. So, and I appreciate her for backing up her fans, not just for the fact that, you know, she could be losing money if she laughed it off. She genuinely seemed upset that they were upset. And that's kind of cool. So I didn't expect that from her. But what are your thoughts, man, on Mary J. Blige saying that ain't nothing funny about that Burger King ad? It was embarrassing. What are your thoughts, bro?
I'm only laughing that hard because I'm imagining that on Chappelle's shows.
Bro, it's fitting, bro.
You are absolutely right. That does seem like it would be a skit from Chappelle's show, 100%, man. Bro, wow, that is an uncanny analogy.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, listen, it's a learning experience. She did feel deeply affected by it. I'm not trying to take any of that away from her. I totally get all of that. You know, the only question that I have is, you know, because again, and here's my thing, when people have convinced me that they are intelligent and conscientious, I will believe you, and I will believe that you are intelligent and conscientious at all times. And I've never been like, I'm not a Mary J. Blige fan like that. But growing up, whenever she would either be doing an interview or doing a performance or whatever, I always put her in a box separate from celebrity Hollywood weirdo world, right? I always put her in a box separate from that. I never really included her with the rest of the pop star Hollywood weirdo Hollyweird paradigm. And she always struck me as somebody who was conscientious. I always believed that about her. However, if I believe that about her, then I also believe that during this experience, I don't think that she somehow stopped being conscientious at that point. Yeah. Like I don't think she turned that gear off in her brain. I don't. Which I kind of feel like you have to at least know that there's going to be some reaction to you being a black female singing about crispy chicken in a commercial. Like I just find it hard to believe that you wouldn't anticipate that, you know?
Right.
Like I don't, and maybe she didn't, but I'm inclined to agree with you that I think first and foremost, she was looking at the financial reward, the financial incentive, the payday. And, you know, she was maybe just kind of turning a blind eye to any sort of potential backlash, because I just find it hard to believe that any black person is going to be just so spatially unaware that there could be the possibility of backlash when you get in front of a camera and you start singing about crispy chicken. I don't know how you can not anticipate that. I genuinely don't. I don't know how you can anticipate that. So, you know, even though I can respect and I acknowledge and respect that she's regretful over it and that she doesn't look at it as a joke, I believe her when she talks like that, because again, I never thought that she was on whatever. But at the same time, I kind of don't know that she's being totally honest in it completely catching her off guard. Like, how do you not know that when you start singing about crispy chicken, you might rile up some black people?
Right.
Like that might. Now, she did say that the way it was shot and what was pitched to her, but again, she's still saying the words crispy chicken.
She sung that. She went in the studio to record that.
Yeah. So my whole thing is, even if you were sold a pipe dream that it was supposed to end up different, you still know you're a black female and you still are singing crispy chicken, lettuce, cheese. You're still saying this stuff. You're still saying it. So it is what it is, man. And you know, the last thing that I'll say, and you alluded to it earlier, I was going to bring up the point. And yeah, I get it's not an apples to apples comparison. And that's fine. I'm not exactly saying it's a 1-to-1. But as remorseful as she is over this situation, I also think it's a bit interesting that she is so willing to play murderous drug kingpins in TV shows. I kind of feel like she's portraying a murderous drug kingpin gangster in a TV show where she's killing other black people and selling drugs to other black people in that TV show. That's a different form of exploitation and racial stereotyping that she seems to be all the more willing to play into. So, go figure on that.
Yes, and that's and that's a problem where, it's sad, man. It's sad that for whatever reason we don't associate those two as the same. They're on the same spectrum, just extremes on different sides. One's the obvious one, and to me they're both obvious. But one's supposed to be gangster and cool, and the other one's supposed to be comedy. But yeah, man. But to speak to the fact that bro, she went in the studio, she recorded it, she went through the whole thing, and the fact that she knows her fans before she did that, that should have been a red flag. You done did enough shows, enough meet and greets, enough touring, enough everything, enough people coming up to you signing autographs for you to know that your people ain't gonna play that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, the money must have been good, or I don't know what it was, But yeah, that is something that we do have to address, man. Like just the whole minstrel act and the whole minstrel show that we do, where it's like, but gangster stuff is cool. That's not somebody tap dancing and that's all, folks. Like it's the same thing, bro. It's white gloves, soft shoes. You're doing the same thing, but it's cool because you got a Uzi in your hand. You know what I'm saying? You selling dope. To me, it's the same level. And the fact that her fans can obviously see one, but can't obviously see the other, is like a pinpoint of where everybody in our community, for the most part, can't see that this glorification of American gangster is not cool. You know what I'm saying? I didn't watch that Denzel movie. I didn't want to see that. And at that time, I was really a Denzel guy. Like I'm watching everything. But when he's playing Frank Lucas, like I don't want to watch that. Why do I want to watch Denzel do that? And then but again, there's this infatuation with that part of what people do. And, because they, in the back of their minds, they feel like it authentically represents them, And even though a Negro loves crispy chicken, they can't sing about it. I would argue that's more authentic. But hey, man, I digress. But hey, shout out. I had crispy chicken yesterday, bro. I'm not playing. All right. I got the crunching in it. My old lady was like, damn, that sound good. That's some Negro stuff. It's okay to like crispy chicken. So let the girl sing about it. But yeah, man, all jokes aside, man. Shouts out to Mary J. Blige's fans for holding her feet to the fire and making her never do nothing like that again.
Yeah.
And still standing on it 14 years later. I love that. So shouts out to y'all.
Yeah, agreed. I would gather that her fans are an extension of herself. So if there was like a spectrum of music fans, and it was like, like for example, I in my mind I envision Drake fans being a certain kind of way. Like in my mind, I envision Mary J. Blige fans being a certain kind of way, and that certain kind of way being not necessarily as on the grid as people who are fans of some of these other weirdo artists. Agreed. So yeah, I'm with you on that, and she has never done anything like that since. So more power to her, man. The only thing that I'll take issue with is what I perceive to be some hypocrisy when it comes to stuff like, she's being in like these power shows. But other than that, she feels some type of way about that, or she feels regret. I can totally understand that because it is minstrel. It is. but I just don't know what she thought it was going to be, being a black female getting up in there talking about crispy chicken in a song. I don't know what you could have expected.
Hey, man, shout out to crispy chicken, bro. Like, I'm sorry, bro. You can't beat it, bro. Damn.
Oh man, crispy chicken, bro. Crispy chicken. Oh boy. All right, y'all. We are out of here. Another fantastic stream in the books. JV wins, Dogon SS, as always. Thank you for tuning in. Check out Conscious Approach on Instagram and TikTok at Conapproach, CONAPPROACH. Download the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. Just look us up, normal spelling. Check me out on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. And as I always like to say, man, have a mind of your own. Don't be a group thinker. Think for yourself. Fellas, please put the OnlyFans down. Please, I'm begging you. Put that narcotic down. But otherwise, y'all stay righteous. Have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
And the name is Dogon SS. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS, on YouTube, DraftKings, MySpace, FanDuel, Twitter, X. Hey man, if there's a social media platform out there, Dogon_SS is also out there. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow, and all that good jazz. And as we say every week, guys, we greatly appreciate you all for liking the video, sharing the video, all right, consciously leaving those comments, man, all right, because without y'all, there is no us out here weekly dropping these jewels and telling y'all about the latest chronicles of fried chicken. All right. All right. And like I always say, guys, don't be too hot, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it player. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, still got more rings than Robert Ory. We'll see y'all in the next episode.
That's right. That's right. Please put that OnlyFans down. Jesus. Put it down.
Lord have mercy. Hey.